rains are good news for inland provinces, where the service officials are reporting that dam levels are above 100%. Further rainfall predicted for this week could see the levels rise even further. Let's discuss what this means for supply and demand of water with Water and Sanitation Department spokesperson Sputnik Ratau. Sputnik, many thanks for your time this morning. No doubt some good news happening for the department at the moment in terms of the supply of water thanks to the rains that we've been getting.
Yes, good morning and thank you for the opportunity. It is good news to a great deal in the sense that we are seeing the results of, the rains that are falling mainly over the catchments that supply our water supply systems. And that is why when we look at the integrated Vaal River system as an example, we can see that it is appreciating quite considerably. It has over the last few days. When we looked at the Vaal Dam yesterday, for instance, it was just over 100% at 100.4. My sense is that this morning it will be even higher as well. So we are seeing that in a lot of the catchments within the inland areas, and that is good for the sake of water availability at this time. We do believe that it will still get better.
Absolutely. What about those communities that don't have sufficient infrastructure? You'll remember we covered Guyana as an example quite extensively with issues around infrastructure. So we may be getting all this rain, Sputnik, but some community members may not benefit just because there is a lack of infrastructure to direct that water to their homes, schools and the like.
Yes, that is true. But as you would also have been aware, that part of what we've been doing in the last couple of months, including working with Minister Mchunu and his deputies, we've been going around the country, province by province, particularly in those working sessions for Minister to make sure that we fast-track some of those issues that have been bedeviling these projects. And that is why, for instance, the issue of Guyana, we've been able to move it forward. We are hoping that by according to the contractors, by September, we would be able to have put in all those pipelines. But it is important that while we put in the bulk, the municipalities also work towards ensuring that the reticulation comes on stream. And that is why when Minister is in those provinces, and he has covered about 7 already, one of the things that he does is to actually bring together even province. Remember that as a department, we do not have our provincial concurrence, but we work directly with local government. And therefore, that kind of relationship with the provinces at that level of the premier going down has been very, very fruitful. We are working very closely with all of those, especially identified municipalities to see what it is we can do. In this past week, for instance, we were in Umhlabuya because there are issues there that have been also not very assisting in terms of water availability towards these communities. And that is part of what we are driving at, to make sure that the augmentation projects that are already on the ground get to an end, and also that those where there are no projects at all, we really encourage the municipalities to put down the money, because there is money that is going through to municipalities that sometimes does not get to do the work that it's supposed to do.
And why would you say that is, Sputnik? I was going to ask you about finances and budgeting around water infrastructure, and you've just mentioned there that there are issues of municipalities not spending the money correctly. Why is that? Is there a lack of oversight from the national department? Just as one example.
It's two things, mainly maybe just to make an example. One, it would be the capacity to spend the money in the first place. And that is why, because money is not spent, you find that there is money that has to revert back to the national treasury. Because according to the law, once money is not spent, it has to go back to the national fiscus. That's the first thing. The second thing is where the money is actually directed to issues that have got nothing to do with infrastructure. And this may not just be water infrastructure, it could be all kinds of infrastructure as well. In terms of water infrastructure, what has been the decision now is that the DWS will not necessarily put down money if the municipality does not commit in terms of finances as well towards the particular project that must happen. Because normally what would happen is that we find municipalities requiring funding but not committing from its own infrastructure funding that they normally get, even from COPTA. So that kind of commitment, as well as a push to make sure that it is actually spent and no money is rolled over even as much as possible. That is what we are working towards now.
No, absolutely. What about education, Sputnik? We do know currently we're not a water scarce country because of the rains that we're getting, but generally South Africa is a water scarce country, and they've been looming day zeros for years now, unless we are saved by rainy seasons. Education around water usage, how is the department doing with that, ensuring that South Africans understand that these seasons are temporary and our water consumption puts us back at risk of getting to situations where we might run out?
Yes, education is very, very critical, and that is part of the responsibilities we have as well. And we do have a unit that deals directly with that function. Can we ever do enough? We can never do enough of education. We have to educate and educate and educate. That is why some of the campaigns even that we have, which may not, you may find, not be speaking to water scarcity directly, but we have to infuse the messaging of water scarcity into any and every communication that we make. Because the fact that we are a water scarce country remains, we are a semi-arid country still remains. We have to utilize the little water that we receive to the best of our advantages. Obviously, it includes a lot of other things. That implies that, you know, your illegal connections. And when you talk about illegal connections or even theft of water, sometimes people think about just domestic use. And that is not what we are only saying, that it is about domestic use. It also happens in industry. It also happens in agriculture. And that is why our compliance monitoring and enforcement colleagues come to be very, very critical and important to make sure that people keep to the spirit and the letter of the water use licenses that they have received, but also that those that do not comply come to the point of compliance, whereas we still need to go out and educate even people that have been using water for ages, that there are particular practices that need to be curtailed, that need not to go on forever and ever. But be sure that we are able to also move into new ways of looking at water, new ways of showing respect to this scarce resource.
No, absolutely. Sputnik Ratau, many thanks for your time this morning. He's the spokesperson for the Department of Water and Sanitation, just giving us a broad, high-level sense of the benefits that we've seen from all the rains that we've received. And, of course, highlighting that even though we may be getting all this rain, sadly, not every South African might have access to all of this water that